Hello. I've just spent about, I don't know, 3/4 of an hour hammering and dolling here. Well, hammering and dolling. Basically, I've got two slappers here. I made another one with the offcut that I had from there. Because I can't reach here with a dolly. I can't reach down through there. And without taking that window out, I can't reach down here, and I'd struggle to reach down here anyway. So what I've been doing is shoving this one up here between the inner and the outer arch, because I haven't repaired the inner, and then having this one behind and then just hammering on the front here and pushing out with this one. Yeah, it's not great though. I think it might be marginally better than it was. Unfortunately, I didn't record how it was. If you go right up here, this piece of metal fits quite nicely. As you come down, you can see, because there's a reflection, it looks like twice as big, but you can see there's, where my thumb is, there's like a high point, and then either side of my thumb there's two dips that go all the way down. So basically there's a low area there and a low area there and a kind of bit there that's not so bad. But even in the reality of things, that bit in the middle is low as well. But you can see that where my thumb is now, that's well low. And there's a little bit of a low here. So that's probably high. This is high. This is all okay to about there. But unfortunately this disturbance here extends all the way up. So what does what do you do? The other thing I can see as well is there's a bit of a bend in the here. I suppose I could hammer that down a bit, but there's still a bend. But if I cut this and push this in, it'll make this, probably make this worse. It might be best for me to just leave this, stop worrying about it, and see if I want to tackle it later. Can you, I mean, I'm looking from this angle and I can see, you know, a bit of a whammy on the reflection. I think you can see it in the camera as well when you look down from this angle. Not making YouTube gold, is it, this? I need to think about what to do to progress. Do I keep sweating over this, or should I try and anchor this a bit better first? I think the best thing to do would be to try and anchor everything first and get everything nice and solid, and then see what I want to do. I've done my best hammering and dollying and whatever, but I don't know enough about it to be able to move the metal in the way I want. I mean, does it need shrinking or stretching or what? What I'll probably do actually is just grind that and just get that out of the way, because it'd be a shame to get the dents out and then put heat in it grinding and then balls it up again, wouldn't it? Leave it with me then, and I'll bring you back when there's more to show. Hello. I've just ground all the welds down and then gone over it with this kind of polishing disc. You know what I mean, like a sanding disc. And I can see that this part of the arch here, this front part, is too far in. It's not far out far enough. So I'm just thinking what I can do about that. I mean, I could just leave it and then build it with fiberglass, you know, fiberglass filler, and build it out. Or I could slit along here near this edge. Bear in mind the inner part isn't welded. I could bring this out. I think this has dipped in a bit here, so this could be hammered out. Or do I just quit while I've got something that's not too bad? Thing is, this part of it was never from this part. It was this part there, like that. From the other side. Okay, leave it with me while I have a think. Back in a bit. Well, I just launched at it with the slitting disc on the grinder and pulled it out a bit. I think that looks a lot better. That looks a lot better actually. You can just see those little, if you kind of go like that a little bit, you can see those little ripples in the rear quarter. Okay, I've got to think how to weld this up now. I think my best bet is to get a strip of metal, put it underneath, and then start welding both sides. Okay, it's about time I could do with a cup of tea, so I'll have a cup of tea, then I'll come back out and do a bit of welding. Okay, catch you later then, bye. Hello, right, I've just done another bit of a welding session, and I'm looking down along the line of the rear quarter, and I can see there's a few bumps and hollows, but to be honest, I just ain't that good. I can't do it. But nonetheless, I have, I think, straightened the arch up to a certain extent. I haven't ground it, but I have widened this area here. It's still a little bit warm. I slit it all the way back to there and all the way down to there, and I've let about 1/4 of an inch of metal in along there and welded it all up. It is what it is. Let's leave it at this for now then, and I'll bring you back when I do a bit more. Oh yeah, I got all this stuff here, look. Reading glasses for in the garage, stronger than normal glasses, safety glasses, earphones, welding mask, just all laid out there. And it's amazing how much stuff you need, isn't it? Okay. Hanging up over there is actually a face shield. Maybe I ought to get that out and clean it up. But yeah, I'm doing okay. Righto, back in a bit. Hello. I decided to not worry too much about any distortion and just go for it. I've welded it, ground it, and I'll just give it a lick with the sanding disc just to get a shine on it so you can get a better idea of the shape. I think the shape is not too bad. Yeah, and obviously there's no getting around that there's going to have to be some filler on this rear quarter. When you consider there was nothing there of it before, just the bare remnants, it's not too bad, is it really? Okay, anyway, I am knocking off for the day now, so take care and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers then, bye. Hello. I've done some work on that part of the quarter panel there on the wheel arch. I've actually pulled it out a bit, which I think looks better. I've got those ripples in the panel, but I can't do anything about them. What I want to do now is to replace this part here, which which will stiffen everything up. And I have this donor panel which was cut from a parts car, so I'm going to establish a datum from this wheel arch, coming back like that, and I'm going to cut it off at a certain point. Cut the quarter panel off and then splice the two together. That's the theory anyway. Righto, leave it with me and I'll come back when I've worked out how I'm going to do it. I think I remember how I did the other side. I'm going to try and do the same. Back in a bit. Okay, so we've established 4 5/8 down to the bottom. So what I've done, I've clamped that strip of metal on there at 3 5/8. Yeah, just had to move it slightly. That's at 3 5/8 there. It's difficult to align the camera. That's at about 3 5/8 as well there. So what I'll do now, I'll scribe a line along this edge there, and I'll use that as my cut. I'll cut it off slightly below that, but I'll get a scribe line there. And that there, yeah, it looks about right. That's 20mm, so that should be about 25mm. It's supposed to be like an inch above, and that looks about right. So I'm just getting a dimension, establishing a cut. Okay, let's have a look at our other piece. So I'm looking at this, so I'm talking about cutting an inch above, which is around about where I've penciled in there. So it'll be a cut along there, and it'll be into the wheel arch there as well. Leave it with me then, and I will come back when there's more to show. Hello. It's an hour or so later, and I have my patch panel. Let's have a look. I've got my patch panel kind of roughed in. Bear in mind this is cut from another car, so it's not like a brand new panel. I think it's fitting pretty well where it ought to fit. It doesn't fit too badly to the quarter. I've used that joddling tool on the quarter. If I press this very gently, it closes up. It's a bit out here, but in my heart of hearts, I think this is a bit in. I think I might do this thing that I did here. I think I might do it here as well, and bring this out to make that. I don't know, to be honest. Yeah, I think I've got my overlaps where I want them. In other words, this piece on the inside behind the upper piece, so any water on there can drain off. This piece meets here. I don't know if it wants to be slightly lower. There's always a desire to sort of push ahead and get a couple of tack welds on, but I'm not 100% sure it's in the right place yet. It's very close. Let me just see if I can lower this part. Hang on. That'll push the bottom out, you see. That's actually got that more in line now. I've kind of got that in better alignment, but in pulling that in, there's a dent there, I've just noticed it. In pulling that in, I've increased the gap here. Okay. Right, I don't think I'm ready to chance a tack weld yet. Yeah, actually that doesn't look too bad. That don't look too bad. Maybe I will chance a tack. The arch don't look too bad. I think it wants to come up again just very slightly. Okay. I'll bring it back when I've finished dicking around with it. Okay, sometimes you have to just kind of push forward, don't you, and you know, try and make some progress. I've welded that piece on, just tack welded obviously. I pushed this panel out very gently on the inside and pushed this one in very gently. I'll show you what I did. I just took this piece of wood, put it against the panel, and put this heavy piece of wood, that one there, against it, just to, so when I was pushing the outer panel in, the inner panel, you know, was pushed out a little bit, and that's how I got the panels to touch. And I managed to get those tacks on. I did a couple of tacks and then I looked from the back here and this was out of alignment and it was a bit low, so I cut them off and redid them, and I think that's not too bad now. And with this clamped there, it's really solid now. All this wheel arch is really solid. That's really solid there. I sort of hammered this a bit and got it to kind of blend there. You know, it's not the world's best, but it's not too bad. Okay, I'll leave it at that now because I'm gonna go and have something to eat. Okay, but that's tacked. It's in place and tacked, and not bad, I don't think. That's been a good session there today. Looks pretty good actually, now I'm looking at it afresh. Not too bad at all really, not bad at all. Thanks very much for joining me in the garage then. Take care and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers then, bye. Yesterday I tacked that repair panel on there, and earlier this morning I came out and put some more tacks on. I don't know which ones. I'm going to wire wheel it and try and put some, probably about a half-inch bead here and there, only 2 or 3. Then I'm going to walk away and leave it, and later on I'll do some more half-inch beads and then walk away and leave it. I'm going to try the long game on this one because after my experiences here, I don't want to deal with distortion, or rather I want to minimize distortion. I mean, I could just go there and just weld from there to there in one go, couldn't I? But I don't think it'll do me any favours. I'll be back in a bit. Hello, it's a little while later, and I've tried not to, you know, keep going at it. I'll tell you how long later it is by the times of the film clips. I'll put it in here. And as you can see, what I've done is put a bead there, a little bead there. I'll put a bead there, I think, and then I'll just put a bead there, put a bead there, and I've done a little bit around the corner there. There. It's nice and strong on the corner, so you don't have to worry too much. But I've just done a bit and then, like I said, walked away, and I've been tinkering around with other things. Yeah. I think it does pull it in locally when you weld it. So the reason I put that bead there is because I was thinking it might be better to almost like only do little bits but start at one end, so if there's any distortion it kind of just continues through, rather than bit of distortion, bit of distortion, bit of distortion, bit of distortion, and then, you know, kind of, I just don't know, to be honest. Don't know enough about it. Look, I'm not an expert, but what I do know, what I can tell, is that when you first strike the arc, it's spluttery and splattery. So if you just do a tack, it's kind of not got any real penetration, because it's just a tack, it's on the surface. So if you just do tack, 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 they're all just a lump on the surface. If you do tack, tack bead, 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 they all take okay. You can see there's penetration there. So for me personally, I wouldn't advocate just tacking it and then tacking in the gaps and then tacking in those gaps and then tacking in those gaps until what you got is a series of tacks. I think you've got to run a sort of tack bead, for want of a better expression, a stitch, like a stitch weld. A stitch weld, I suppose it is, where you aren't running a continuous bead like you would on thick metal, but you're putting your little mini beads together. Am I talking rubbish? Probably. Okay, right, that's cool to the hand now. I mean, I only did that a couple of minutes ago. That's cool to the hand, so, you know, I might lay another one on. Maybe I might actually just continue from there to there. I've just had a thought actually as I was speaking. Maybe it would be an idea to grind these tacks down so that you get a better transition. Yeah, I think it's time for these tacks to get ground down now. So I'll do that. I'll grind all the tacks down before I do any more welding. Okay. Back in a bit. Hello. I'm inside the boot and I'm doing odd little welding jobs down here and down there. I'm fitting this, and as you can see, can you see that there's welds? These are done on the outside, but it isn't finished. That's because I'm welding this a little bit at a time and then doing other things in between. So that's how it looks at the moment. So this in here is the other thing that I'm doing in between. Here I have a piece that is going to go in there like that. I'm going to cut this piece out and expose the top of the frame rail there, and then I'm going to plug weld this piece to the top of the frame rail. Get rid of this, make a note of this position for the hole, drill a hole in this. Well, actually what I can do, thinking about it, is that I can put that there, can't I, you know, in position properly, scribe up through that hole and get my position for the hole, then cut everything away and then weld it in. You know, typical patchy job, innit? Patchy patch. Patchy McPatch face. So I'm doing 2 jobs at once because I don't want to rush that job there. In fact, I keep having to remember to go back to it, which is probably the best way, isn't it, when you're trying not to rush a welding job. This is based on, you know, you like to give credit to other YouTube channels that you feel have been influential. There's three that I can say have been influential. Kyle Carter at Carter Auto Restyling, very helpful, always prepared to sort of answer a comment, you know, when you comment on the videos. Well, he does when I comment, so I don't know about anybody else. Scott at Cold War Motors, who is very skilled with metal work. He can form panels. I mean, the work that he did on that quarter for Jim's Continental was phenomenal. I can't approach that sort of thing. This is my sort of fodder here, and it, you know, existingly shaped panels or simple shapes patched in. And Fitzy at Fitzy's Fabrications, he's the one who sort of made a point of treating the welding job as, you know, the long game. So I mean, that's now cooled down, so I will go back and put another couple of beads on now, and then I'll come back to this. Okay, I thought I'd just share that little bit of just showing you what I'm doing in between doing that, so hopefully all this ought to come together nicely soon. Famous last words. Okay, righto, back in a bit then. See you in a bit. I'll show you something else as well. Look, I'm self-taught, you know. I pick up advice where I can, but I'm self-taught. What I've been doing, I'll illustrate this way, but it's kind of doing it. I don't know if you can see it here. No, not really. Instead of just going jeep, 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 what I've been doing, I've been going jeep push, jeep push, jeep push, jeep push, jeep push, to try and just do little sort of mini beads. Just something, I don't, you know, sort of thing that you do. In other words, instead of just going a simple spot, you try and just push it at only a tiny bit, less than 1/8 of an inch probably. That's the other thing as well. I've seen people do this, and I think it's so you get a clean bit of metal instead of the blobby end. Helps it start better, I think. What I'm going to do there. There we go. And that's all I'm going to do there, but I will do a piece over here. Can you hear that it's longer than just a little tack? Can you also hear that there's an optimum time between the bursts? When I paused then to say, can you see that I'm not, well, whatever I said, something about the tack. It then sputtered, didn't it, on the subsequent one? It sputters on the first one, and then it welds, okay. So there is like a pacing to it. If you can weld at a certain pace, you can do it without that sputter that you get on the initial one. Okay, I'll let that cool down now. I'll turn the welder off and do something else. Okay, righto, that's all my top welding tips for now. I'm not a welder, don't forget. There's a dent there, but that's not from my welding, that was there before. But this doesn't feel too bad, to be honest. There's a dent there, but that was there before. But here, this feels okay. I'll carry on then and I'll catch you later. Hello, it's much later in the day, and I left the job because I've been out to meet my kids for a dog walk. So it's now early evening, and I've just come back and done another couple of beads there, and I only need to do a bit there and a bit there, and the job will be done. So I'm looking at the inside of the bead, but I'm just stressing that I'm leaving it a long time between putting the beads on. The point I'm trying to make is that basically you need to put this as a secondary job, so that you're doing another job and you have to keep breaking off from the other job just to stick a bead of weld down. You don't treat this as the primary job. Just from the point of view of not feeling like you have to rush this. Look, I'm not an expert. Fitzy was going on about this sort of thing, about taking your time, and I would fully agree. This, I can feel a tiny bit, but that's all there is. You know, it's a lot better than, for instance, I had on the other side. Okay, and it's a lot better than this as well. Righto. So I'll continue with my metal panel that I'm preparing for the inside, and I'll bring you back when there's more to show. I've peeled back the floor and I've exposed the top of the rail here, but what I didn't realise was there was a secondary piece of metal here, so I've just tacked it back together again, and the new piece will come over here and it'll slip under there and it'll go across here, and I will fold this back down and weld it to my new piece. Oh, and it'll be plug welded through here. And then here's my new piece. I cut that hole with a big hole saw. I had to put it on the milling machine. The drilling machine wouldn't turn it. I think it was a bit blunt. And I've drilled there for plug welds. That'll go there like that, more or less. It'll go underneath there. It'll go underneath here. I think I need to instigate a slight bend, because it's starting to bend just there. And I will probably just overlap it here and just do a little lap weld. Okay, I've got to grind those off, those lumps there. It's a bit messy, but it's just capturing the piece back together again. Those holes are where you clamp the petrol tank down. But I have welded this. Oh yeah, there is a little lump there now. Yeah, just one little lump in the middle. About there. But not bad. Not bad at all. Not bad at all, really. Much better than the other side. So yeah, I'd recommend that taking a long time to do it. I'm going to leave it like this for now, and then if I can I'll carry on with the inside job, and I'll bring you back when there's more to show. I've cut my piece, got it in place, and I can do the plug welding and maybe some other welding. I can push that down and get that to catch on there. I did bump that up with the hammer, so bit of an overlap here, but I don't mind that. That'll be okay. It'll be nice and strong when that piece goes back in. There's a couple of holes in it, but there's good metal underneath. Looks terrible on the camera, but it's not too bad. not too bad. Back in a bit. This is how it looks inside the car. I've welded that piece in. I struggled down in that area there because I couldn't get both hands in, so I wasn't able to steady my right hand with my left hand, so I tend to go a bit off course. Plus it wasn't a very good fit, but it's in. None of this area here can be seen because the gas tank fits there, the petrol tank fits there. None of this area can be seen because the petrol tank sits there. Okay, right. I've got to weld something on there for the thing that retains the strap that holds the petrol tank down. Yeah, there's a few jobs to do yet. That hole is in place for the fuel pipe to come through. This edge here needs trimming back so I can weld it to the edge of the patch piece. Yeah. I might revise that idea. Anyway, that's how it's looking. Those holes can be tapped. I think I've already put a tap through them anyway, but those two holes can be tapped. They're 5/16 U and F for anybody doing the same job. But that's not too bad. Plug welds there, plug welds there, a very light lap there, you know, about 1/8 of an inch. A very light lap there, transitioning to a sort of butt weld near the end there. Yeah, okay. And you can see the continuous weld along the outside there, which will need just a little bit of hammering and dollying to just try and lower one part and raise another. This part here needs pushing together and welding. Just capture that together there. And then I've got to decide if I want to modify this. But normally, if I'm mentioning it, I end up doing it. You know, knowing myself, that's what I tend to do. If it's worth mentioning, it's worth doing. Just bring this out a little bit, 1/4 of an inch if that. Anyway, and I need to join the outer to the inner along here, which will be rather difficult because I've got to get underneath there and weld from underneath, which will be very, very unpleasant. So I think I'm going to take the back axle right the way out and maybe even drop the spring. Don't know about that. I don't want to mess about with the spring because I haven't got any bushes for it. But I can imagine if that spring wasn't there, I might be able to get a better angle up. I'll try doing it with the spring in place first. Little dip there. Well, probably actually what I'm saying is a lump there. It probably isn't a lump. It's just a dip there, which funnily enough coincides with more or less the last bead I put on. I wonder if I would have done better to have just gone from one end right the way to the other end rather than work my way to the middle. Again, somebody with more experience could probably tell me. Bear in mind when you're looking at this, I did this probably 3 weeks ago, so it's no good. Do you know what I mean? I do appreciate advice, but you got to understand there's about a 3-week lag between filming and publishing, just due to the volume of video and the time it takes to edit and put them out. So I do appreciate advice, but don't be upset if it's like too late for that particular job. But I do bear these things in mind and carry them on to the next job. Okay, yeah, good. Righto, I'm going to pack up, have a cup of tea and settle down for the evening. It's quite late here. Okay, take care then. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers then. Bye.